Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's take on the final episode of Season 1 of Fallout, starring Walton Goggins. And the biggest takeaway from this is women in communism good, white men in capitalism bad. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing, Joan. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 14, Joan. 14. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So, as always, I will give you my non-spoiler review and then the spoiler review. The non-spoiler review is pretty much what I said. Pretty much was heading down a certain path and pretty much got there. This feels like a extremely woke show written by much smarter people. It's like they got together and said, they're not accepting our communism in the blatant way. Let's try to be subtle about it. Okay. And they did. That's what it feels like to me. The payoffs here, it feels like a completely different show, episode 8. Suddenly everything gets super serious. Oh, what happened to all the wacky jokes you were trying to cram into this thing? Oh yeah, we can't screw around. It's time to explain communism, everybody. That's what the whole show felt like. So this was the big payoff of the season. If this was an 8-hour movie, this was the final act and the denouement, which was like, what? A lot of this was like, huh? What? That's the ending? That's what you went with. All the endings you could have gone with. That's what you went with. Okay. All right. Everything tied in. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Everything did sort of tie in. And it's all dark and tragic. Now it's all dark and tragic. You know, the whole game is dark and tragic. That's the way it is. And suddenly they're jamming in the line, war never changes, in every other scene. Like, why don't you throw that into the first episode? Anyhow, how would I rate the ending? Well, a lot is riding on episode 8, the final chapter of season 1. And, as a first season, again, you wasted a lot of time. This entire first season could have been done in, I'm going to say, 3 episodes. Tops. You probably could have done it in 2. Probably could have done it in a 2-hour movie. Would have been a lot tighter. A lot of this was just dross. A lot of this was just wasted time. I mean, episode 5 is a complete waste of time. Episode 6 isn't much better. It just really is partial setup for episode 8. Really, you could have started with episode 4, jumped to 7 and 8 with a couple of extra, edits. I think I could edit this entire season down to episodes 4, 7, and 8. And it would probably be better. Probably be a lot tighter. Definitely would be a lot tighter. What am I saying? I mean, they bring back characters from the first season like they did that. Like they made a 2-hour or 3-hour movie. They are not making a show here. They're making an 8-hour movie. And it's tedious, in my view. It's tedious. You have an opportunity to make a show unfettered by normal constraints. Instead, you deliver this. You spent a lot of money. I mean, the set design, mwah, beautiful. Costumes, beautiful. Everything, visually speaking, like a Zack Snyder film, mwah, chef's kiss. Love it. The look of it, love it. The only reason I got through all 8 episodes is I like the game so much. Watching the show just keeps giving me member berries. But that all being said, it's kind of a weak show. Payoff was not Not so great. It was pretty much what I said, right? In the earlier episodes. In the earlier, rundowns. There was no other way for it to go, really. So it wasn't really much of a surprise here, other than the unbelievable story of the communists from Hollywood, the communist raider leader who started this whole thing. I still don't understand what the hell her plan was. What was her plan exactly? Oh, okay. We're going to kidnap an overseer from a vault. We're going to set off a bomb in the vault. We're going to go for this elaborate thing where we pretend to be the vault dwellers of Vault 32, infiltrate Vault 33 just to get at Hank McClane, and then nothing. Then sit around and wait for the rest of the characters to do stuff. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. None. In a video game, maybe this would have been okay, But even in a video game, the NPCs tell you, well, go do this. Go do this. We need this. We can't advance the story forward until you get this MacGuffin. In this show, people don't think these things through, and it drives me crazy. So here's a thought. What if Lucy had died? Lucy is a vault dweller in the wasteland. It was very likely she would have died. If Lucy had died, I don't know, let's say she died in episode 6. How are you going to finish this thing? Seriously. Where would the story end there? It would have been like you're playing the video game. Oh, I got killed and I have to start over. That's where it would be. So I would not recommend this to anyone. I can't recommend it to normies because they probably wouldn't understand half the stuff going on. That's number one. I can't recommend it to Fallout fans. Most of them are probably up in arms between busting the lore open, the communism, and just the general, hey, this really isn't Fallout. Again, the look is right on target. If you guys spent as much money and time on the script as you did the look wouldn't even matter. That's the problem with Hollywood in a nutshell. And I say it till I'm blue in the face. You have no writers. You have no writers. None. I could take 3 guys who played every Fallout game, sit them in a room, tell them to write an 8-episode Fallout show. It would be amazing compared to this. Now, it might not make total sense. It might require some editing, but I would bet it would be fun and awesome to watch. And it would nail everything. Hollywood guys, they've got their agenda. Manly Woman made a return in this episode, by the way, as well as Kyle MacLachlan. But the big, giant controversy, yeah. No. See, the problem with the wasteland is patriarchal white men. And if only the lesbian communists were in charge. That would solve everything. They invent cold fusion. They would usher in a utopia. Don't you understand? I swear to God, that's the message of the show. All right, that's my non-spoiler review. What rating do I give this? Oh, Jesus. Well, there was lots of action in it. Give it a 3, maybe, for the action. It was just so insufferable. And, well, let me get into the non-spoiler review. Okay, so I'm using the visuals here from the Review Geek, thanks to you. So, I forget where it starts, but in the beginning, Maximus goes in and turns in the fake head, which is obviously fake. The Brotherhood's about to kill him. Dane, the manly woman, his friend, saves him. But the Brotherhood cleric sees something in Maximus. Hey, I want to start. If we can get this cold fusion thing. I want to, you know, restart the Brotherhood and yada, yada, yada. Okay. That worked. That worked. Again, you could have started with something like this, but whatever. So now he's back in the Brotherhood. They kind of know what he did. They kind of don't care. Which makes sense. I mean, at least that part of it made sense. What did Walter Goggins do? So Walter Goggins is running around. He's got the dog. He's tracking everybody. Now he's a godlike creature almost. Norm, let me do Norm's little subplot because there's not much of Norm, Lucy's brother. Lucy's brother gets in the Vault 31, and the big revelation there is, of course, Bud, the guy from the flashbacks with Walter Goggins, who is the co-head of Vault Tech, I guess, is now a brain in a jar, and he runs Vault 31. Vault 31 contains the frozen people who were in Vault Tech and their management, and they run the show. So they're thought out to be overseers, and at the same time they have kids and families and experiment on people still. For some reason, I don't really see the point of the experiments anymore. Like, I understand the experiments in the past, because the idea was the experiments would somehow lead us into the future. Now they're still doing the experiments in the wasteland, and people are dying and killing each other in the vaults. Everybody in Vault 32 died. You know, another question that arises too, how did the Raiders and Queen Raider know that Vault 32 they'd be able to get access to it, number one, and number two, how did they know that would be the vault where everybody died? Did, I guess, Kyle MacLachlan's wife told them, and she knew, and they used the Pip-Boy to break in? My experience in the Fallout game tells me there's Pip-Boys and all kinds of stuff lying around in a wasteland that you can find, so it seems like a huge security fault in the vaults if, you know, anybody with a Pip-Boy can break in. Anyhow, Rose marches to the Raider Queen's headquarters where communism rules, and she is in the observatory. So, gets to the observatory, and surprise, surprise, Kyle MacLachlan is there. There he is right there. And Lucy has a showdown with the Raider Queen. Walter Goggins keeps having flashbacks, which fill in the rest of the gaps. And so in his flashback, we see, in the past, Walter Goggins' wife. Do we have a still of that, by the way? Yeah. So he goes... It's such a weird scene. So Walter Goggins drops off his wife, tells her that he messed up changing the oil in her car, you know, which was odd because they had robots in the retro 50s future. Wouldn't you just get the robot to do that? Why would he do it? Anyhow, shows up, drops his wife off from work. I guess he purposely sabotaged her car so he could drop her off specifically. Drops her off, runs into Bud again. Bud's annoying. He's being more, you know, he was established, obviously, so they could do the brain in the jar bit. And he still has the listening device, which is tied into her Pip-Boy, and she can hear, or she's beginning to sense something's going on with the Pip-Boy. Now she's going into work. Goggins has a listening device, but then realizes, oh, as she walks away, I can't hear her. I got to get close, so now I got to go into the building. He literally just told her he was going to leave and go be with their daughter, but now he's staying. Now he's staying. He's going to sneak into the building. So after she goes in, he goes into the building, ends up with Betty, who is, you may or may not remember, you probably don't, but Betty is now the overseer of Vault 33. But it's a younger version of Betty, you know, before she was frozen, right? And so Goggins is waiting in the office. I don't know how he explains why he's even in the office building, but he's basically there to listen to his wife in her secret meeting with all the other heads of all the other evil capitalists. And see what they're going to do. And Goggins' wife pitches this idea, more than an idea, I guess, you know, because it's actually done, that the problem with Vault Tech and all the money they have is that without the war, they can't sustain their money. So they're going to not only sabotage the peace talks, but actually start the war and kill everybody. But that's okay because we have the vaults. And you guys will all get your own vaults, and you'll be able to experiment on the people in them, and then the best, you know, the best sort of civilization wins. So though it's this bizarre version of commie capitalism, like, yeah, see how evil capitalism is? They take it to the nth degree. Like, who would do this? You'd have to be insane to sign. Okay, we're going to kill billions of people, but that's okay because we'll be underground and we won't be dead. But the people who do survive, you get to experiment on them. It's like, what? Who would sign on to this? It's not even sensible in game mechanics. It's so insane. But that's the plan. That's the big reveal. And they're going to stop war. If anything, this is a communist utopian vision of we're going to stop all war. Yeah. But don't worry, everybody. The lesbian communists, really, they have the answer. If only we'd listen to the lesbian communists, everybody. So, cuts to the present day. Lucy meets Queen of the Raiders, commie woman from the past. She's the leader of the California Republic, and it's all so awesome. Because, yeah, communism. She's also a brilliant scientist who invented cold fusion, but the evil Vault Tech bought it from her, and she needs the code of, you know, so she can get her technology back. And that's the thing in the scientist's neck. He injected it into his neck, and it's got all the plans, and she needs a Vault Tech employee to access it again so she could make cold fusion and restart civilization. And that's not what the evil white men at Vault Tech want, everybody. So that's what this has all been about. Okay? I mean, setting aside that the wasteland is complete dumpster fire and everybody's killing each other, there's not that many people in the vault. It's obvious the management can't really, I mean, you can't really do anything with the amount of people they have left. They would figure that out in a week. They would have figured that out in advance because they had real scientists in this world. So, yes, I get it. Scientists running amok and capitalism running amok. Oh, but don't, no. If only we had listened to the commies. If only. Yeah, no, they don't have utopian visions that kill everybody. Just capitalists do. So, she tells him the big revelation, or it tells Lucy the big revelation, which is Kyle MacLachlan had his wife Rose. Rose escaped the vault with her 2 children, went to Shady Corners. You remember the city that was destroyed. And in that vision, Shady Corners was, they were rebuilding civilization, everybody. Oh, it looked nice. There were 22,000 people there. But suddenly they were all dead. Why? Because evil Kyle MacLachlan wanted his kids back. So he raided the place, got his kids back, and then dropped the bomb on Shady Corners and wiped everybody out. But Rose turned into a ghoul because, see, that's the way I learned in the game people turn into ghouls. They get caught in a radioactive blast, and for some reason they turn into a ghoul. They're not quite sure why. So they have some ghoul tied up to a chair, and she's going rah, rah, rah. And then their girlfriend and girlfriend, by the way, with the communists. See, she left her evil white patriarchal husband for, lesbian communist, who was so kind and nice. Oh, your mother was kind. Yeah, why exactly would Kyle MacLachlan bomb Shady Corners when he could just, I don't know, take it over? Why wouldn't Vault-Tec just take over Shady Corners? They already rebuilt the city. Why wouldn't you just, like, roll in there and go, hey, yeah, we're from Vault-Tec. We're going to take over the whole place. Now, let's drop a bomb there. Where do you even get the bomb to set off? Civilization is destroyed. Where did you get the plane to drop it, I assume? Or did he sneak it in there with a robot? Like, how did he even do that? Doesn't make any sense. But this is the plot of the show. So, Lucy spends most of the episode standing there stunned as communist woman tells her terrible things about her father, and then the Brotherhood shows up because Maximus convinces the Brotherhood, I can take you to the real head, which has the technology they want, and so he does. They convince him because Dane, the manly woman, says to the cleric, spare him. He didn't mess up my leg with a razor blade in the boot. I did it to myself. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they'll reveal it's not. Because she said, I'm afraid. I was afraid or something. She didn't want to go to the waste. So they lead an assault on the observatory where the California Republic has their base. And, they just roll in there and start killing everybody. It's a big fight. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool fight. You got to give them that. Again, Zack Snyder syndrome. The look, the fighting, badass. And you got, the knights rolling in there, and you got the squires behind him, like using them as cover. So that was smart. I like that. But then they get in there. They're just wiping out the New Republic guys. And then Walter Goggins shows up. And then Walter Goggins has this great scene where he's just like, what the problem with these power suits are? It had this one thing just above the chest plate. I wonder if they fixed that. And then he shoots a guy and, like, instantly hits him and kills him. And then it turns into a giant firefight where, like, Walter Goggins basically kills half the guys in power armor. Kind of unrealistic, I would say. Let's see if we can get to some of that. Here he is, listing the shocking revelations. There's Norm finding all the guys frozen. Oh, and in flashback, of course, Kyle MacLachlan turns out to be the guy who was calling his house. He's the big fan of Goggins' movie Cowboy. And he is from 200 years ago, because he was frozen. That's what Norm discovers. Norm discovers in Vault 31, all the employees for Vault-Tec were frozen, including Hank. He was unfrozen to manage the vault in the wasteland and have a family and whatnot. So this is the big shocker. Not such a big shocker, but kind of. Yeah, so he's just sitting in a cage, and communist lesbian is waiting for Lucy to show up so she can force Kyle to give her the code so she can get cold fusion going again, which does her no good because the Brotherhood just kills everybody. So I don't know what she really accomplished. Much like communism, she accomplished nothing but piling the bodies high. But she can't be blamed for that, obviously, because the Brotherhood did it. But there's the cold fusion. Here's the badass fight. There's Walter Goggins killing everybody. And then We have a scene like this. So eventually Maximus finally catches up to Lucy to save her. And then Kyle MacLachlan is immediately like, I'm Lucy's father, let me out of here. And Maximus just lets him out. And Lucy is just standing there, still stunned. Stunned! And, you know, while everybody just stands around stunned and not really saying anything, like, no, don't let my father out because he's not a good guy. Like, that's all she were. Wait, don't let him out yet. Why? Okay, I have to explain a bunch of stuff to you. But no, he lets him out. Kyle immediately runs to a suit of power armor, puts it on, knocks out Maximus, and then Lucy has to confront her father. And then she's struggling whether or not she should shoot him. And then Walter Goggins shows up. Amazingly, just in time, shoots Kyle across the face and basically threatens him. And now he needs to know where his family is. So Goggins' family is yet to been revealed. Like, where is... I mean, does Goggins even want his wife back who started this? I mean, seriously, think about that. Goggins' wife started this whole thing. She wiped out humanity. It's the whole reason she's a ghoul, or he's a ghoul. And I don't know what happened to their kid, but the best case scenario for Goggins is he finds his wife and kid in a frozen thing and then lets him out. And gets to spend the rest of his days with his genocidal wife and kid, who he's got a lot of explaining to do to her. I'm going to guess that we're going to get probably not his wife, but his kid as an... We might do something like in the video game, you know. It's an older version of his little kid. Last time he saw her, she was like, I don't know, 6, and now... when he catches up to her in the wasteland, she's like an old lady, and his wife is long dead. But I can't imagine her, you know, why would he even want to see his wife? Maybe he wants to kill her? I don't know. Avenge humanity? Because she set this whole thing up, according to the show. I think it was left purposely vague in the video game a little bit. Yeah, like, I don't think it would have been down to Vault-Tec. Was so powerful, the evil capitalist company bombed us all in order to destroy the competition. Yeah, I don't really... That's what they try to pitch in the show. Doesn't work for me. Nah. So you're saying, like, you know, these companies with actual people who run them think, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Billions of people dead. I'll be living underground, possibly frozen for many years, but when I emerge, I'll be in charge and it'll be great. How's it going to be great exactly? Oh, everything will be rebuilt by somebody. That plan doesn't make any damn sense. Could you get a couple of people to sign on for it? Yeah, maybe. You know, communists with utopian visions. Could you get all those major corporations to sign on for that? I don't think so. No, it's not the way those guys operate. Do they push their luck and accidentally fall into bad situations? Oh, yeah. I mean, if you had written this in such a way that, yes, they were trying to sabotage the peace talks, but they didn't actually want the war. They just want a continuing simmering war. And then the war was accidentally touched off, and they couldn't stop it. That would make a hell of a lot more sense. Like, you know, they kept going through this pattern like we do today. War starts, and then everybody backs off. So, what's the current war? Well, it's the Israelis and the Iranians. So what happened in the current incarnation, the Israelis got bombed, and then the Iranians bombed the Israelis, and then the Iron Dome worked, and since nobody was killed apparently in Israel, at least as far as we know. The Israelis returned fire in such a way that they didn't kill any Iranians. And now both countries posture like, we won. See, that sells a lot of weapons and nobody gets hurt. That sounds like a plan. This doesn't sound like a plan. This sounds like, you could see how that could turn in to World War III. I mean, it's not good. I'm not encouraging the Israelis and the Iranians to continue their fake war. Something could go wrong. That, to me, would have been a more realistic scenario. And the whole idea that the capitalists are driving it, there are other factors. Come on. And it's hardly capitalism when you're pushing monopolies. That's not capitalism. So, yeah. It's a lot of other factors here. And the communists just, they're just idiots. In the hyper-American fallout, the communists were still around. And I think it was mostly the Chinese in the fallouts I played. It wasn't the CCP, it was the Chinese commies. And it was a hyper-American sort of Cold War that eventually spilled over into a hot war, and everybody died. This seems to say, oh, no. See, the corporations purposely killed everybody in the world. Not even make money. There's no money anymore. There's bottle caps. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Not even the fallout. Sorry. This is, their version of whatever. And they got John Tron in that clip where he goes, what? Which, that's appropriate for this show. Like, what? Communism. Oh, that's the answer. Oh, if only we had cold fusion and communism, everything would be great. And the lesbians would run everything. No. So the battle continues in the observatory until the head lesbian is killed. And as she dies, she takes the hand of Rose, who's a ghoul, and her own daughter finally put her out of her misery. And she says something like, "We did it, Rose. We did it." Seriously? And then, Walter Goggins is just like, "Come on, we gotta go after the next MacGuffin," basically, which is going to be he's got to find his family, and they're going after Kyle MacLachlan, who I guess is going to be the evil guy now that they chase across the wasteland. Now they're a team. Finally, after 8 episodes, they're a team. And so Lucy follows them, and they have dog meat. But Maximus has to go back to the Brotherhood, and so she leaves him there. And then Dane says, "You killed the leader," and he said, "No, he says, "No, I didn't." But Dane raises Maximus's hand and said, "All hail Knight Maximus. He killed the Raider Queen," or whatever. And so he gets to be a knight, but it's kind of a Pyrrhic victory for him. But, again, a lot of the stuff you accomplish in this show, and I'm not discounting the entire show. I still say episode 4, the best one out of the lot. But that's not a great rating. 1 out of 8. The rest of the show, bleh. Although I'll say 7 and 8 were mildly better. Mildly better than the rest. But there was a lot of dross here. Could have done without everything in Vault 4. Could have done without episodes 1 to 3, really. The sensibilities is still weird and off. The only one who seems to have a very consistent character is Walter Goggins. So, even his wife, not consistent. I mean, so you're telling me the Mrs. Goggins, Mrs. Howard in the show, is the one who orchestrated the death of humanity just to save her company? Doesn't seem like something a mother with a child would do. And it seems to fly in the face of what they established in the show. In one episode, I forget which one, in a flashback, Mrs. Howard is saying something like, well, I made sure we got a space in one of the good vaults. And Goggins says, what do you mean, good vaults? Like, he catches that turn of phrase, and that would indicate to me that his wife wasn't in charge. But in the episode where they make this big reveal, it looks like she is. She is like, it's like her and Bud are the two people who decide, yeah, let's just wipe out humanity, and then we'll run the rest of it. That's a terrible plan. You're telling me, you know, a $1 trillion company, Vault-Tec, you know, even though they're having issues, you know, they might have peace talks and whatever, couldn't rebrand the vaults in some way that would have made sense? Couldn't take their trillions of dollars in holdings, maybe downsize a bit and move the money around? I mean, when you have trillions of dollars, when you're worth that kind of money, you know, look at, to use an example, look at Disney, right? Disney isn't worth trillions, but is worth billions. Look at what they've been doing with their company, and they're still around, right? They still got billions to burn through before they're going to be selling the parks and, you know, closing up shop, and they may even recover from it. They're still worth billions of dollars. A $1 trillion company? You telling me they can't? Oh, it's the only solution. You know, the end of humanity. That's the only solution, fellas. We don't want our third quarter report to go down. Like, come on. Doesn't make any sense. But if you're ideologically driven to make this point and hammer home communism, well, maybe you think this works. What happened to all the fun comedy you guys were trying to cram in there? Yeah, suddenly that went out the window. Although I will say Goggins' appearance in this was great. And that's the kind of comedy I expected from the show. His bravado really carries every scene with him in it. If only the rest of the show was that good. Oh, this would be an amazing show if it was just Goggins and, I don't know, a sidekick. Not even Lucy. I mean, Lucy's okay. Maximus is okay. Their love story could drive the series. But, you know, I would have really liked, you know, a team up with Goggins and somebody else who had a big personality too. Man, it'd be great. Those two tear it across the wasteland like a buddy movie in the dystopian Fallout future. Man, that would have been awesome. Okay, instead we got this. It's a mishmash of a bunch of things. You know. Again, I don't know why Goggins wants his wife back. If she committed this kind of genocide. I mean, that's beyond, right? Like, think about that for a second. It's just like, this is the problem with the writers on this show, I think. They're not thinking this through. Oh, okay, yeah, really, it was Mrs. Goggins, Mrs. Howard who did all this. Oh, okay. Yeah, how about thinking that through a little bit? How about thinking like, well, wait a minute. What would your reaction be if your wife was planning the end of humanity? I think you might say, honey, we need to have a talk. Oh, what about? Your plan to end humanity? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I know that you plan to set off a bomb in the United States and start a nuclear war and kill billions of people. Now, is there anything I can do to change your mind on that? And if she says, no, I think it's a perfectly fine plan. I mean, if I don't do it, somebody else will be, and somebody else will do it. At that point, I think you have a big decision to make. Well, I don't want to argue with my wife, or maybe I want to really argue with my wife and save humanity. Yeah, I think Goggins, especially the kind of character he is, or the kind of character, I should say his character name is Cooper Howard. I think Cooper Howard would have stopped his wife. by any means necessary, if you know what I'm saying. But I don't think the wife character, if that's her actual plan, unless they reveal there's yet another figure behind the scenes, or that she felt she couldn't stop it, even so, I would say Goggins would stop her. Cooper Howard wouldn't let this happen if he knew about it. And he did. And he did. And that would include Bud. You know? If he had to team up with his wife and, I don't know, take care of business with Bud, he'd do it. That would have been a better show. So, you know, what I would have liked to have seen maybe is in a flashback sequence, Cooper tries to do that and then ends up in jail when the bombs go off. Like, he attempts to do it, but he fails. But then you'd have to ask, why would he want to find his wife? Yeah, there's a lot going on here. And this kind of discussion needed to happen in the writers' meeting. It was too extreme. Like, if you had a figure, maybe, at Vault-Tec who really ran the show, some crazy old man, let's say, who was bitter and old, and he hated humanity anyway, and, you know, he was just singularly powerful at Vault-Tec, and he orchestrated it all, maybe. And maybe you could have made that person Bud, I don't know. Maybe you could have worked in the whole AI thing and said, oh, it was an AI that really figured this out and manipulated the company people. And if Mrs. Howard was one of several employees who just felt like she didn't have any power to stop what was about to happen, then maybe you could kind of forgive her, that she was just out to save her family and said, this is going to happen and there's no way I can stop it. Like, you could have had that scene in this, and that could have saved Mrs. Howard's character a little bit, and you would have been like, well, instead, it's not very morally ambiguous. There's not a lot of moral ambiguity there. Like, Mrs. Howard's pretty much singularly responsible for destroying humanity in the Fallout world. And, you know, for all the diversity in the show, you made a woman of color, like, literally the death of humanity. And that, you know, that flies in the face of the stuff I said in terms of, like, oh, you're making white men look bad and communism good. But Jesus, man, she just doesn't even seem like that kind of character that you painted in the show. Just seems like way out of control. Like, someone at this writers' meeting gotta go, no, what are you doing? What's the purpose of all this? That's what you gotta ask yourself too. What's the message here? Oh, right, lesbian communist. Yeah, let's not have that message. The message is war never changes, right? So, I mean, you could have had a similar scene with all the various companies, and it could have went something like, the peace talks are breaking down. You know, the communist won't, you know, we've gone too far. I mean, maybe you could have done that. You could have sold that. Like, well, we wrecked the peace talks 3 or 4 times now, and now the communists won't talk to us at all. We've taken this too far. And, like, have them desperately trying to stop the war. And then they're scrambling to get into the vaults before the bombs drop. That would have made more sense to me. And then, you know, the fall of humanity is like a bunch of guys who just basically abandoned their post in the 11th hour, and the commies set it all off. Not that, we're Vault-Tec, we're going to wipe out billions of people, and then later in the wasteland we'll continue to do it, apparently. I don't even get Hank's motivation to do that, to wipe out shady corners. Again, these guys are so powerful, why don't they control the weapons? Right? Like, if you were going to wipe out humanity and then take it over later, whatever was left, wouldn't you stockpile an S-ton of weapons? Wouldn't you have power armor to beat the band inside one of the vaults? Just like an entire room with nothing but power armor and machine guns. And, you know, everything. Everything you would need. More gear than the Brotherhood has ever seen. You go wipe them out in like a day. That, to me, would make more sense. Okay, they just figured they'd take over humanity, and they wouldn't use weapons. Like, nobody in the vaults has any weapons. Lucy's the only one that's even mildly capable and adventurous. She got some training. Why didn't some of the people in the vault have some security training? There seems to be some nameless people in the vault, some nameless security guys that seem to have a little bit of training, at least in Vault 4, but again, I don't think you really thought this through. The guys who made the game seem to think things through. And they kind of designed it so, you know, each game was like its own little world. Yeah, tied in, you know, Vault Tech tied into the other things, but, you know, it kind of had its own deal. Each game kind of had its own little deal. Yes, they were doing experiments, but this show attempts to tie all the games in too, right? They make allusions to the other games. So they make allusions to Vegas, and you know, there's another vault, I forget which game, where they tried psychotropic drugs and everybody killed each other. You go through that vault. Ambitious, to be sure, but I don't think this is going to make the Fallout fans happy. And if you were going to make such a giant revelation about the world like that, pretty much ended the show. I mean, like, why do I have to watch season 2? I kind of know the deal. Vault-Tec started the war, and now they continue to be evil, and the overseers must be wiped off the face of the earth. So, and we're going to file season 2. I guess we're going to get an 8-episode wind-up where in the last episode, Walter Goggins finally confronts his wife, who either is a ghoul, or he has to kill her, or it's his daughter. Maybe it's his daughter in the Enclave. They mentioned the Enclave. I didn't see the Enclave in this one, I don't think, right? None of these guys were in the Enclave. I don't think so. Were they the scientist guys? I think they were. So, yeah, is it good? Again, I couldn't recommend it to anybody. You know, except maybe Walter Goggins fans. Walton Goggins. Walton Goggins. I just can't say it. I'm just going to say Goggins. Goggins has a fan base. It was all about this. It seemed to do nothing but turn on the lights in a dead city. So yeah, that's it. That's it until next season. Will I be watching next season? Well, you guys seem to like these breakdowns. So if you like me complaining about Fallout, I guess. I don't know if the show's going to get any better. I really don't. Maybe slightly, because now Lucy and the Ghoul are finally teamed up, and they're finally, you know, it took 8 episodes, but they're finally a team. I mean, the 4th episode in this season was the best one, and they were a team in that. So now, if they move forward, keep moving forward like that, maybe, you know, with Lucy trying to be idealistic and Goggins like shooting everybody. Yeah, maybe that could work. But we'll see. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D. Thanks for tuning in. I think I'm going to take a break from doing these screenwriter takes for a while. Get back to good old-fashioned complaining about trailers. Thanks for tuning in. When is this going to air? Monday. So enjoy this on Monday. We'll see you in the next one.